Hello, Steve. Hello, Jill. It's time to game classy.
Once again, I am asking Steve to unmute.
The recording is in progress.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can hear me, I assume.
Yeah, are you not on your normal desktop now?
No, I'm on where I'm always on. Why?
Oh, you sound a little more echoey. I'm just saying.
Oh, I am in a different room.
Ah, okay. So that would explain that.
Yes, yeah, I'm in a different environment. I'm actually you might be able to hear her little footies. Yeah, I was talking to Joe, not you. I'm dog sitting a very small dog. She is very old and very cute.
It's not a child.
I mean, she might as well be. Well, she's a venerable old lady.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So, Steve, I wanted to start off this podcast by asking you: are you a warrior? Are you a champion, or a hero, or a lord?
I'd probably say lord.
A lord, of course. So let me ask you this question. In what year did Marco Colombo discover Lustria?
380.
That's very incorrect, and you know that.
Yeah, I blew it. I don't know. I have no idea when Marco Colombo discovered Lustria.
It was 1492.
1492.
Just when Enrico Palazzo discovered America.
I should have known.
By the way, one of my favorite bits of all time. It never came to me until I was much older. But when the fat guy from Pee-wee's Big Adventure pops up in the stands in Naked Gun, and he says, "That's Enrico Palazzo." I have found
Francis.
Yeah, when Francis. I have found myself saying that multiple times in like the last month. It's Enrico Palazzo. No one gets the joke, of course, because it's from an obscure comedy. But there you go.
Is Naked? Well, I guess Naked Gun's obscure now, huh?
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Like not. It's one of those movies that I just don't think translates to like Zoomer humor. They don't quite get it.
You know, a lot of those movies don't. There's a lot of the Lampoon movies that are just the total slapstick. Like this goes for Scary Movie as well. Like all those that like whatever that genre is, like the absurdist comedy movies.
Yeah.
The absurdist comedy movies, I find a lot because I actually tried to watch Scary Movie somewhat recently. Holy shit, that movie is awful.
I like the original Scary Movie, and Scary Movie 2 is even better because it has Chris Elliott.
It's got my small hand.
With the small hand. I'm a strong hand.
The thing about those movies is that so here's this is what I'm about to segue in. I don't think it's objectively bad. I think it is bad now. It's just such like they are so topical and so in their moment. I agree with you where you're saying is where it doesn't translate to Zoomer humor because they're a little time capsule of like what's funny and what's topical because so many of the jokes in Scary Movie and in a lot of these style movies, and I know it's in the Lampoon as well, is like topical political humor as well.
Yeah, that's
it's like very specifically like it's like making an OJ joke. Like,
well,
he's getting away in the white Bronco. I think that's literally in one of the Scary Movies.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's funny that you mentioned that because OJ's in Naked Gun, the Naked Gun series.
Yes, I know. That's why I was thinking of him.
But yeah, there's a difference because Naked Gun is not a parody. It kind of is, but it's more just because it grew out of a parody TV show.
Right.
But it's not really a parody movie. It's not parodying anything like specific. The Scary Movie, on the other hand, is an actual parody of Scream. So it's
and then the horror genre as well.
Yeah, and it's not it's nowhere near as good as Chris Elliott in Scary Movie
Well, Chris Elliott's fucking great because like the Chris Elliott bit completely stands alone.
Yeah.
Because he's just a weird, creepy butler guy with a tiny little hand, which is his strong hand.
Yeah, it's like they gave Chris Elliott like said, okay, you could create any character that you want, and you just go with it. And Chris Elliott's
that's
like
absolutely Chris Elliott character.
yeah, very much a Chris Elliott character.
Yeah,
and if it's, overall, Scary Movie 2, not a great movie. They do like a Charlie's Angels bit at the end too, not good. But if you watch it just for Chris Elliott, just the Chris Elliott bits, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah, his stuff is great. Like if you've ever seen Get a Life,
Stand in the
find the place where you live. Now then,
you think about direction, wonder
why. I love that show. And you can tell that like that Chris Elliott was so heavily involved because Chris Elliott is so fucking weird. Like all of his like characters and his jokes are just they're so odd and they're so off-putting, and like I love it. I think it's really funny, and that's why you can tell that character in Scary Movie was absolutely a Chris Elliott character. He definitely like wrote that character, or they were like, this is the character, he's a creepy butler, do what you want, and that's what happened for sure.
I like that I went off on that tangent, but I forgot to mention that I took that trivia from the Warhammer quiz book that I found at Half Price Books, and I was very excited to find this book.
That's right. And I told you I was going to be bad. My Warhammer knowledge is not that great.
Your Warhammer knowledge is what's the word I'm looking for? A failure at best.
Sus. It's sus.
It's sus. To go back to the boomer humor.
I'm getting much better at Age of Sigmar though.
Are you? At the trivia?
No, the lore, because I've been listening to all those audiobooks.
You are a lore.
Thank you.
Yeah. I found this book, and people. So the funny thing is that this book was like $5 when I bought it, and I think I sent you the picture of there was some pre-painted confrontation figures in the box that they went like ridiculous price for like $50.
Yeah, it was an absurd price for the confrontation figures.
Yeah, and the half price books, for people who don't know, is kind of like a chain used bookstore. They basically give you a pittance for whatever you bring in. It's just a place to dump off old media that you're like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't care. I don't need to make money off of this. Just get it out of my fucking house.
Right. Well, I mean, I've actually I sold my Blu-ray and DVD collections to Half Price Books.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, like, you don't get a good return, but here's the thing: where the fuck are you going to get a good return on DVDs and Blu-rays?
Well, that's exactly it. That goes to what happened at the auction, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you'll get a pittance for it. But sometimes though, the one that's by where you used to live,
the one in that's in Bloomingdale.
And I go to that one every once in a while. They have the most swingy, absurd prices I've ever seen.
You're absolutely right. I don't understand how they get their prices, because like you could be like, oh well, that's totally overpriced. Like usually when you go to places, you're like, this is an overpriced place, where like everything is like outrageously expensive, like you were saying with that confrontation thing.
Outrageous.
But then they have like good deals as well. So it's like, where are you getting, like, where's your pricing structure coming from?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that they take it off of online. They look at a couple different sites, and it's kind of aggregated, but it's still like just ridiculous.
Yeah,
but anyway, yeah, it's the thing is though, is that the quiz book is far rarer than those confrontation figures.
Oh, by a fucking mile.
And those confrontation figures, I couldn't name anybody who buys confrontation plastics, pre-painted plastics.
I don't know. I don't think it's definitely not like really a market. I do remember that quiz book fondly though, because we used to do the quizzes at the paint bar at the bunker.
Yes, we did. And no one ever got any of the questions right because they're so fucking hard.
Yeah, they're super fucking hard. They're like really obscure, because a lot of them are not just from like Black Library stuff. A lot of them are like, this is in one throwaway line in one edition of one army book.
Okay, so let's go through the warrior section on Dark Elves really quick, because you could probably do this one just based off playing Total War.
It's been a while, but yeah, fire away.
Who is the Witch King of the Dark Elves?
Malekith.
Who and what is the name given to the Dark Elves' homeland?
Nagaron.
Is it Nagarond or Nagaroth?
I think it's. I thought it was
Damn
Nagarond.
We've ruined it already. I have to look in the answer book.
Yeah, I thought it was Nagarond, but I guess I might be wrong. Could be Roth. That's one of those like.
Oh wait, here we go. Dark Elves. It's Nagaroth.
Nagaroth. All right. Well, if this was the bunker and someone told me Nagarond, I would have given them. I'd give them a gimme on that one.
And that's where you fail, sir. Dark Elf assassins and witch elves devote themselves to which vile god?
Cain.
What is the name of the Dark Elf's lore of magic?
Shit.
This is an easy one. Don't overthink it.
Isn't it just Dark Lore?
Yeah, Dark Lore, Dark Magic. That's a gimme one I'd give you.
I was like, wait, what? Wait, isn't that just Dark Lore?
What is the name of the hag sorceress?
Marathi?
Yes. What ranged weapon do dark elf warriors often carry?
Crossbows.
Be more specific.
Repeater crossbows.
There you go. What manner of beasts pull dark elf chariots?
Cold ones.
What unit of dark elf warriors wear sea dragon cloaks?
Corsairs.
Yes. What weapon is commonly associated with the executioners?
Great blade. The executioner blade.
Why should you always give executioner? Why should you always attack with hand weapons when fighting with executioners?
Because their special ability makes them, or because the great weapon makes them strike last, and they have killing blow on their profile. So you just hit them up with chops.
That actually isn't asked there, but I wanted to see if you remember that.
I do remember that. Yeah, the killing blows on their profile, not on their weapon.
I remember pointing that out to one of the Games Workshop like district reps, and he goes, "That's just jerk. Why would anybody play that way?" I'm like, because it's infinitely better than striking last.
Yeah, it's like because you guys wrote the rules like that.
Because you fools screwed up.
Yeah, I mean the thing about that though is like I actually don't even like I mean personally my opinion on that is I don't even think that's a screw up. I actually think that's a pretty cool like it's definitely something that came out of an oversight, but I actually really like it, and specifically because I find that that's actually more tactical because they don't have good strength. Their strength score is still just 3, I think. So if you choose to attack the hand weapon, you get your initiative, you get to strike person, you get your killing blow, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but like there is an actual downside of like you're no longer like you're not strength 5. So like that is an actual choice. It's not necessarily a no-brainer.
But mate, that's not the spirit of the game, mate.
I mean, I think having choices in combat is the spirit of the game.
I feel like this is like why you should be the new British Prime Minister is like this argument.
Having choices in the game. I should be. You know what? I should be the new British Prime Minister. I'd do a better job than any Prime Minister they've ever had.
I think everybody's getting a chance at this point.
That's true. And did you see that lady? She only worked for 40 days and she gets a £116,000 a year stipend now forever.
Yeah, but you know she tanked the pound, so that doesn't really count for much right now.
Hey! Actually, if there's any fellow weebs out there, the dollar is currently obliterating the yen, which is not common. Usually, the yen and the dollar have like a really close parity. So if you're a weeb, fucking buy shit from Japan right now. Like the buying power of a dollar is like almost double the yen now. So like,
yeah, we've talked about it before because of GW's pricing structure. Things are cheaper in the UK if you buy in the pound. Yes. And then you have it shipped over. Usually, not all the time, but every once in a while, there's like a model that's like, like 50 pounds.
Great and clean ones. I bought 3 great and clean ones from the UK, and it ended up being cheaper even with shipping than buying, I think, 2 great and clean ones in the US.
Yeah. So right now, though, because Liz Truss tanked their economy, the pound was almost at parity with the dollar,
and she killed their queen.
Yeah, she killed the queen too. But you can't kill the lizard queen.
Well, she destroyed the current vessel.
Yes, there you go. Once the lizard children eat her brain and gain her memory, the queen is not really dead.
Right. That's just. I mean, she destroyed the vessel. Like I didn't think that needed to be spelled out. I figured everyone knew this already, but you're right.
Yes. That's very true. The current vessel. I like that. Oh yeah, so you could go ahead and buy shit cheap overseas for $1. One last question from the Dark Elf section. Name the vast worship island of the Dark Elves. This one's a little tougher.
The Black Ark?
Yes,
Wait.
you are correct. You are
okay.
correct.
Yeah, okay, very good.
You are at least on the warrior level. You are no lord, sir.
Very good. Well, hey, I mean, I did a lot better than I anticipated. I got everything right.
Yeah, but that's on the lowest level of difficulty. Yes.
Hey, that's still pretty good.
It's still pretty good. For someone who hasn't paid attention to the Warhammer Fantasy lore in probably close to 15 years at this point.
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
Yeah. I mean, has it been that long?
Yeah, dude.
At least
I haven't
close
played,
to.
I haven't really been paying attention to Warhammer since, like, I don't know, the kind of the beginning of 7th edition. So it's been a long time. Like, I don't know any of the story of like the end times and stuff. I just know the models.
Yes, very true.
And then the stuff I've gleaned from AOS, which, like, let me tell you, like, I really like the fucking AOS lore. We've talked about it before, but like it's totally fucking He-Man.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's totally He-Man. If you like just like the crazy out there, like sword and sorcery, like very big, grandiose fantasy stuff, like in He-Man, you should do yourself a favor and listen to some of the AOS audiobooks.
And on top of that, too, you have the fact that if you buy AOS books, you can't resell them. Let me explain. I did the auction at the Games Plus and got rid of a bunch of stuff. I sold my my Age of Sigmar army, which was actually sold, thank God. So I got a bunch of credit there, along with a bunch of other stuff. But what I also put up was all of my Age of Sigmar books. Now I priced them at about $5 a book, and these are the hardcovers. These are, they go from first edition all the way up to current stuff. But I put it for there was like one or two that I put for like $10 or $15 because either they're like brand new or they're kind of rare. Like I have the Ever Chosen hardcover with the slip cover on the front, which you can't really find anywhere.
No, that's hard to find.
Yeah, so I put that one for like $15. Put it all up there. Not a single one sold.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's not, as I say, like I would understand if I'm gonna put this at like all of them at 15 because you could probably find them for 20. So $5 difference. Yeah, no, I put these at price to move because I didn't want them in my house anymore.
Right.
And they did not a single one sold.
Wow, sounds like you're taking a trip to Half Price Books for those.
Yeah, and guess what? I took them to Half Price Books. Guess how much I got offered for them?
How much?
These for there was 20 books total. I got offered $8.
Nice. Did you take it?
No, I did not take it for $8. At that point, it's worth me more. It's more worth me putting in the effort and putting them on eBay than to sell them at Half Price Books.
Yeah, $8, that's pretty low.
Exactly. Like even if they had offered me I would say because it was 20 books. If they had offered me $40 I'd probably be like, okay. But yeah, I'm not gonna sell them for that low.
That's pretty low, man.
Yeah, so if you have Age of Sigmar books, prepare to hold on to them for the long term.
Yeah, apparently. I
was talking with the buyer at Half Price Books. He's like, I can give you $8. I'm like, really? Only that? And he's like, yeah, these things don't sell. They have them in the they track them in the system to see how often these books are selling, which I think that affects the price point.
That makes sense.
So that's probably why, because they just don't sell and people dump them. And it's part of what I was saying with Games Workshop is like, they just pump and dump these books so much that it's like people they're like constantly having to and getting rid of their older ones because they're buying the new ones.
Right. Yeah. There's not a lot of there's also not a lot of collector value to the books in general. Like I think there was a lot more with the older publications because A, there was less books, and B, they actually had more robusto content.
Yeah,
they always had a lot more like painting and terrain making and stuff like that. Like I remember there was always like a lot of like good hobby content in every army book, which they still have like a painting guide in the newer books, but like it's totally like a different tier of just the level of content's just not there that it was in the older stuff. I can remember like the General's Handbook, like the original General's Handbook from way back when. That book was like maybe like 50% hobby. Like there was so much in there about like making your own terrain, making your own maps, making your own boats for like the huge like
Yeah, I was gonna say it
water.
also had horrendous naval combat rules.
The rules were terrible, but the boat building guides were really cool.
Yeah, those
Uh,
were bad on multiple levels.
yeah, the boat building guides were cool. The rules were not good. Although you can just like throw the boats on there and use the regular Warhammer terrain rules and have your models on boats, and it actually works pretty well. It's not so bad.
And what I like most about those boat rules is Games Workshop just doubles down on them every time. Like every time a boat rule appears in anything, they use those horrendous rules.
Yeah, they're so bad.
I do recommend Blood and Plunder if you're looking for good naval combat, like big 28mm naval combat rules.
Yeah, apparently the Mantic game is really good. It's not 28mm, of course,
Yeah.
but apparently that Mantic boat game is.
No, I've heard good things about it. No, I'm talking like when you have just two ships with like models on them that are like we're gonna, close in for hand-to-hand
boarding
combat
action.
stuff.
Yeah,
boarding action stuff.
Shit.
Which I highly recommend that set. I'm not a huge fan of Blood and Plunder totally, but I really like the concept. If you're looking for a good pirate game, I think that's probably the closest that you're going to get to like what we would say a tier game. It's probably like B tier.
Yar, matey.
Yar. But I don't think there's ever been a good pirate game. Even Legends of the High Seas, which was the Warhammer historical one, they use those stupid fucking boat rules from General's Compendium.
Yeah, the only good pirate game I know of is the 7th Sea role-playing game, which is pretty good.
Yeah, but that's not a minis game. That's a role-playing game.
This is true.
And didn't that use the same system as the Legend of the Five Rings?
RPG? It used its own variant of it, but yes, the same engine.
Because I remember having some of the RPG minis from that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did use the same engine, and that was the same as Burning Sands.
Yep, yeah, which is a good system.
Yeah, I mean, those three, but Burning Sands and L5R were in the same universe, right?
I believe that is correct.
But Legend of the High Seas was not.
No, that was its own thing.
Yeah.
Not the same world.
Yeah. Which, that game did make a comeback not too long ago, like 6 or 7 years ago.
It had a hugely successful like Kickstarter. Like it was a monster. It was a monster hit.
I wonder if hey, listeners, if any of you guys picked up the new Legends of the High Seas, Legends of the High Seas, wait, what's it called? Seven Seas. If any of you picked up that RPG, let us know how it is. You could just drop us a comment in the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's like we're almost like real podcasters there for a second.
Look at that. We did it. It's only been how long have we been doing this podcast?
12 years at this point.
Long time. It's been a long time getting from there to here.
Can you believe that they redid Quantum Leap?
I actually can't. I actually can't believe that they redid Quantum Leap. I think it's like that's like I'm very just I'm so fucking sick of them remaking good stuff. Like remake something shitty. Like make something that had a great concept but bad execution and do it right.
There's Mantis.
Sure. Wait, isn't that the superhero that was on WGN?
Yeah, he had
green outfit.
He was like paralyzed, but he had an exoskeleton suit that he would wear, and it was like gave him superpowers.
Right.
That's a great concept, right?
Yes, that is a good concept. Yeah, it's I like it. No, I agree with that. Like I said, like get the shows that had good concepts and just redo them and make them correct. Like,
what about Nightman, the jazz musician who was a superhero by night?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one having a great concept.
I don't remember like what gave him his powers. I just remember that he played like saxophone in like a New Orleans jazz band.
The jazz gave him powers. It was the power.
The jazz gave him powers, or as they call it in Star Wars, jizz.
Yes, jizz music.
Jizz music.
One of my favorite gifs is from it's just a clip of that scene with closed captioning on, and it just says "Jizz music continues."
Jizz music continues.
Yeah.
How does Believe go? How does Believe go from Lost Boys?
Believe it is. Oh shit! I still believe.
Yes. I still believe.
Yeah. Yes.
Classic. You know, I wanted to rewatch Lost Boys.
The sweaty, sexy sax man.
Yeah, I wanted to rewatch it this Halloween season. I don't think I'm gonna get a chance though.
Did you watch Midnight Club?
I have not watched Midnight Club.
I've been watching Midnight Club. I'm almost. I'm almost done. It's very good. I really like it so far. I don't think it's going to be wrapped up sufficiently in the remaining time it has, but we'll see. It's another Mike Flanagan joint.
But he didn't direct it. He just produced it.
Correct. There's a couple directors, but he wrote it.
Oh, did he write it? Okay.
Yeah. He wrote it. Well, it's collaborative. There's like a bunch of people working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been enjoying that a lot.
I'm waiting because this week starts the Guillermo del Toro anthology show on Netflix.
Oh yeah, that shit's gonna be fucking dope.
Yeah, you know, I Dream of the Witch House and Pikmin's Model are two good stories, but they've been done before. I kind of wish that there had been I would like something that was a little more classic-y Lovecraft, like something in the mythos.
1 sec, I gotta let the dog out.
He's got to let the dog out.
What? You wanna go outside? Okay.
The best part about all of this is that there's going to be someone who's listening to it and is like, I think there needs to be more dog on the podcast.
Very good. I'm back. Sorry.
Yes,
The old lady had to potty.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like, yeah, there's going to be some person who's listening who's like, very good. He's letting the dog out.
Yes.
I was worried about the dog.
Good. Well, do not worry. The dog has been let out. She's going to go to the bathroom. Everything's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. I was hoping that there was going to be something a little more mythosy.
Oh yeah, Pikmin's Model is kind of weird to do in a visual format.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering. I'm interested in seeing how it goes.
Yeah, because the whole like turn of Pikmin's Model works best if you can't see what the fuck he's painting, right? Like,
yeah.
Isn't that the deal? Like,
yeah. So I mean, you'll be able to. I think you could do something like that, but all Lovecraft stuff shouldn't really be filmed.
I mean, having seen The Color from Outer Space, I have to disagree with you intensely. The Color from Outer Space was amazing.
I'm not saying that it can't be filmed. I'm saying that it shouldn't be filmed. Like, you have to have somebody who really knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yes, yeah. There's a very specific touch you need to have, and I don't think every story is convertible.
No, it's not. Like, I think
Pikmin's Model would actually be one of my examples of one that I don't think would work in film. So
yeah. Like, and there's a couple that are like totally should be filmed. Like Shadow over Innsmouth, I think is a fantastic, like, would make a fantastic movie.
Yeah,
if it was
absolutely.
If it was a straight 1-for-1 adaptation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a good noir story on top of having like it's like a noir detective story, and then suddenly, oh shit, there's fishmen.
Yeah, I mean, let's put. I'm gonna take that back just a second. It's not that it should be filmed like exactly like it is in the book, because that would, or the story, because that would just be unwatchable. His prose and the way that he like paces his stories do not work for film. You would know what you need to do is you need to like have someone who knows what they're doing.
Well, you make a screenplay.
Yeah, in the time period is what I'm saying. So that, I think that would work best. And it can't be Richard Stanley who did Color Out of Space, because he just got in trouble again. So,
oh, what the hell did he do?
It was, of course, like anyone in Hollywood, he was sexual assault and everything else on top of it. Exactly. So it's like, and also it's Richard Stanley and he's fucking crazy. So it's like, I don't know if you necessarily want him to do that.
No, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I don't know if it was sexual assault, but it was definitely just assault, or definitely assault of some kind. So we got to keep that.
Keep it on your fucking popcorn, fellas.
Yeah. Speaking of popcorn, that was on Joe Bob last night. I called that one.
Popcorn. It's a good call. I still isn't that movie not very good?
I liked it.
Okay.
I would say for the time period in which it came out, it was not very good. It seems much earlier 80s than it actually was. and there's a weird 20-minute reggae break in the middle of it. But I really enjoyed the villain's monologue. Like, once you know who the villain is, the guy who playing the villain, spoilers, it's a guy playing a villain, is really good. And the story's kind of dumb though.
Yeah, the only thing I think I told you before, the only thing I really remember from Popcorn is the VHS box art.
Oh yeah, that's exactly
That
why it
box
makes
art is fucking iconic.
I think that's what makes it a classic, is the fact that it has that classic video store box art where you're just like, I don't care if this movie's terrible, it can't be that bad with this cool box art. But
Yes.
in reality, the worse the cooler the box art, the worse the movie.
Sometimes. I mean, the thing is a very intriguing and cool box art, and that movie's great.
Yeah, but it's not like amazing fucking box art like Popcorn.
That's true. Popcorn's box art is fucking incredible.
Exactly.
You're not wrong there.
Yes. So back to the auction, back to the Games Plus auction. I think the last few times that we had talked about the auction, that it was definitely a seller's market. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
because it just, everything was going for ridiculous prices. This year was not, and this auction was not the case. It was very much a buyer's auction. I saw stuff going for
Oh.
relatively cheap. Not shitty stuff either, like decent stuff. Now, this was the minis auction. I didn't go to any others auctions because I was so disgusted with the prices on the other auctions. I didn't want any part of it. I was like, I'm not going to the RPG auction.
Well,
Just
maybe
like
you could have gotten a sweet deal on something.
I may have at some point, but I don't know that much. So what I ended up doing, I ended up selling up most of my stuff. The only stuff that didn't sell was a couple things that didn't actually make it up in time for auction, just because they cut it off at a certain point.
Right.
And my books for AOS and some old magazines, but actually like half of those sold and half of them didn't. So whatever, I'm just gonna try and put them up next time for cheaper.
That makes sense.
Yes. I myself bought a couple, I don't want to say gems because they're not really gems, but what I did was, how Games Workshop for a while, it was probably up until about, it was a 2000 teens thing. They were putting up boxed games. Like, so how you have like the 2-player starter sets that you get for 40K in fantasy or AOS?
Yeah.
They would do like these boxed games. So like Execution Force, where it was like, that's where they would release the new assassin models, but they'd put them with a bunch of gene stealers.
Oh,
and be like,
yeah, I remember that.
or cultists, and be like, this is a boxed game.
Yes, I remember those were the super shitty box games.
Yeah.
They did the one with the new scouts and the gene stealers.
Yeah.
I remember this. Yeah. Everyone
The
hated
Death
those.
Watch. So there was a person who was selling the boxes and the games material with none of the minis. Now, me going, I could just print the minis whatever the fuck I want, was just like, okay, I'm gonna buy these because I want to try out the games.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought Death Watch Overkill, Execution Force, and the 2 Horus Heresy box sets with the games inside. I've been playing one of the Horus Heresy games and looking at the rules for the others. These games aren't bad. These games are actually pretty good.
All right, that's a surprise.
They are not. I think it's because everyone's looking at it as like, oh, they're just trying to sell the models. No, these games are actually pretty fun.
Actually, made little games. All right.
There are not great games in the least, but I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. So I was playing one of the Horus Heresy ones, the Burning of Prospero, and it actually has like a fun little magic system, and it's really fast and fun to play.
Huh.
So it feels like 40K, but without all of the nonsense rules. So you're just like, I'm putting guys on the table and shooting each other. That's it.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what you've just described is quite a glowing review. So
wait. So I don't have to, you don't have to memorize like stat lines and shit like that. It tells you roll this dice and you get this result, and then you win. Like, yay!
All right.
As a person who,
that sounds good.
yeah, as a person who's grown over the last 20 years playing these games and seeing how complicated they're getting, I'm actually more excited when they get less complicated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Like, the
completely
simpler
get it.
the game gets, the more fun I have on it.
Yes,
so, and I looked at
especially
that
if
one,
it's new.
Yeah, and I really like the fun psychic power phase that they have for it. So you get these like decks of cards, right?
Mhm.
And each card has a number on it, and it'll say like 1, 2, up to 3.
Okay.
And sometimes they have like these. It'll say like 0 to 3, and it will be like you can pick you can have 3 if you have these things in place. Like
Okay.
these prerequisites will give you 3 power. If you don't have these, it's 0 power.
Got it.
So, and you use that to make your magic go off. So each player has this deck of cards. So the Thousand Suns players has like the 0 and like that, and it'll say like stuff like if you have Aramon on the board, he'll give you 3. If you don't, you only can have 1. And then the Imperial player, the Loyalist player, also has a deck of cards that's like willpower to resist the magic.
Okay.
And it'll say you have 1 if you have just standard, or you can have up to 2 if you have Sisters of Silence on the board.
I see.
Yeah. And what you do at the beginning of the phase is you lay out 3 cards like against each other, and then you add it up, and whoever has more, either the psychic power goes off or the psychic power is resisted. And sometimes there's cards that say like it auto goes off if this happens, or it's auto canceled if this card comes up. And it's like really fast and fun. I can't really describe it more than just like, I'm an old man and I don't really care for making this complicated. I just want to roll dice. And this is a really fun alternative to that.
I dig it. It sounds like a. I mean, I will admit I never actually looked deeply at those games rules, because I 100% was just like, yeah, they're just, these are how they're gonna sell minis, or like Burning Prospero was like, yeah, people just bought that to get 30K minis.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. And but I never even like bothered to take a look at it, and I was like, oh, these are kind of fun.
Fun
So I'm really interested. I'm excited to get into maybe some of the other ones.
This reminds me of when you talked about that not Blood Bowl game.
Oh yeah,
where you were like it's better than Blood Bowl.
Oh yes, very much better than Blood Bowl. That's I don't know if that's necessarily true, because Blood Bowl is kind of silly and stupid in and of itself. It's just I like games that are quick and fast.
Yeah, I don't know. Blood Bowl. I've played Blood Bowl on table, and I think Blood Bowl just works better as a video game.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
I've played the Blood Bowl video game enough that I think it just functions better as a video game. I don't know because the video game's legit. Like the Blood Bowl video game it's not an adaptation. It's the game. Like it is Blood Bowl. Like it has every rule in Blood Bowl. I think like the only thing it is the game. So it just functions better. It's faster because all the stuff that that physically slows you down while playing Blood Bowl is gone.
Yeah.
It just functions really well. I'm a big fan of that video game. And I don't like playing the tabletop game, but I really like the video game.
Well, one of the things I really like about the faster games is that if you fuck up so bad that you can't win the game by like turn 2, do you stick out the game and just play, or do you re-rack them? And all these quick games, because you're going so fast, it's like, okay, we'll just play another game. It takes 30 minutes to play. It's fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And there's nothing there. There really is like it's one of the worst things when you set up your big army for like a game of Warhammer, and it's like this huge thing. The game's going to be like 2 hours or whatever, and you just like it's turn 2 and you're like, fuck.
And what I really liked, getting back to the Burning Prospero, is that I do have all of the figures, but I was like, I didn't use them as Thousand Suns. I didn't use them as Space Wolves. So I was like, what I'm just going to do? I'm just going to print out a bunch of fucking Marines using some fun Space Wolf bits and Thousand Suns bits that I found online. And I just put the army together. It cost me less than $30 in resin. And I was like, oh, this is great. So I just printed it all out, and I made the model specially for the game.
Did you use the Space Wolf heads?
I did not use the wolf heads, no.
Wolf heads are hilarious because like someone pointed out that like I like the wolf heads, but I will admit there's one thing that actually is very funny about the wolf heads that I cannot deny. They look pretty sweet from profile, but holy shit, do they look goofy head on.
I just think that there's one Space Wolf guy who's building his wolf head helmet who's like, I made it so that the mouth moves when my mouth moves.
Yes.
Yes. So, and that's what I'm planning on doing for the other games as well, because I was like, why not? Why not just give this a try? The only things that I didn't have were the special characters, Fellhand and Aramon. But I was like, they sell them in plastic anyway, and I had a bunch of money left over from the auction, so I was like, I'm just gonna buy these.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and which actually led me to when I texted you about like, man, you could with 3D printing games like the Lord of the Rings, which was that one? The
War of the Ring.
War of the Ring can actually work fairly well.
Yeah. It's like you can actually build an army and it's attainable.
Yeah, it is really attainable. And I was like, damn, that would actually work. But now I was actually looking at the rule books for War of the Ring online. I was like, I'm not spending $30 on this rule book. I'm just going to be honest here.
You cheap bastard. It's
It's
$30.
Do you know how many copies of War of the Ring I've had over the years?
I don't know. I've had 2.
I've had at least 2. I think I've had 3 that I've just been like, I don't want this anymore, and I would sell it. I'm so mad because now I'm like, I could actually do. And the Battle Hosts book, which is really hard to find nowadays. So
Yes, yeah, I had that book for a long time.
I figure I'll probably come across it at some point, and maybe I'll pick it up again. But that was that was always my favorite Lord of the Rings rule set.
Oh, it's great. It's super good. Battle Host. By the time Battle Host came out, they'd really like fixed a lot of the glaring issues. And man, that game is fucking good as shit.
What I always liked about it was I liked the specialty stands. I always thought that was such a cool concept, like the 3 hunters.
Yes, it's fucking awesome. I love that setup for minis games.
Yeah, or it was like the 9, the ring wraiths.
Yep, that's one of the things I like the most about Conquest, the Last Argument of Kings.
Conquest.
I like that their movement trays are the squares with circles in them, and as guys die, you pull them out of the tray. Like I really like that style because also that does. I mean, same thing in the Lord of the Rings game. If you don't use the trays, there's a skirmish version of the game, like because the models come out and they're on circle bases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's when you said that I was like, fuck. And I'm like thinking like, maybe I don't do War Master. Maybe I do War of the Ring.
I mean, and I think with 3D printing, there's a couple really great 3D printing Patreons who do Lord of the Rings stuff. My favorite one is still the Printing Goes Ever On, because they do books. They do it like the books, and they do every month is like a chapter from the book.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just grab like some character models from GW, especially their newer plastics. I really like their newer plastics. They're doing a really. Yeah. It's kind of disappointing that they aren't doing more new versions of other models, because the new versions of every character they've done, like all the new plastics, they're rare, but every time they do a new plastic for Lord of the Rings, it always looks so fucking good.
Yeah. And if you want like some really great character models, I really recommend looking at Davale, Davale. They make some fantastic looking stuff. Like very much GW level quality, if not better. Their Mumak is not as great, but I mean, there's a couple different Mumaks you could check from. Another one that I like is Kurzluk minis. They do some really fun stuff too. I think like they just like odds and ends, but it's really fun stuff. They did some really fun Swan Knights. I remember that. I was like, oh, those are neat. Because like I always look at the problem with the Lord of the Rings games is that those models that I'd be like, oh, I'd really like to do like a little army of these guys. Oh, good. That's going to cost you $350 to do that. For the
unit.
Yeah, for the unit.
Yeah, because a bunch of the best units, or the units that you want to use in War of the Ring, are like, yeah, so for the Lord of the Rings, you need 1 box of these 5 metal guys. Oh, you want to use it in War of the Ring? Yeah, you need 6 boxes.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Oh, and remember the Council of Elrond, not the Council of Elrond. It was the one with Galadriel.
The White Council.
Yeah. That one was that box set was like $80 and it was only like 4 models. It was ridiculous. Medbury Minis is another one that I really like. And Arcanum Workshop has been doing a few things that they did some nice looking stuff. It's more It's more movie accurate, and I don't really necessarily like them as much as I like DeVale or The Printing Goes Ever On. If I was gonna do it, I would probably use The Printing Goes Ever On, just because I feel like they have everything and they do a really good job of having consistency across the board. So it doesn't look very much like GW stuff, but it's got its own style enough that you're like, if I did an entire army of this, it would look super cool.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of a mix between the not Rankin Bass, the
Ralph Bakshi.
Ralph Bakshi designs and the GW design, or the Peter Jackson
New
designs.
Line Cinema.
Yeah, so it's like John Howe stuff, but like his 70s stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, so I recommend that.
I mean, that sounds
And then
dope.
speaking of,
Lord
let's
of the
talk
Rings.
let's talk Rings of Power. Steve finally
Rings
finished
of
it,
Power. Yes,
which is
I
actually pretty
completed it.
good because it just ended last weekend. So
Yep. Yeah, I managed to catch up and be done on time. Hey.
Yes. there you go. So let me just ask overall, what are your impressions?
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's really good. I think it is a very so. Here's the thing. This is not a caveat. This is the thing that this is something that really confused me. So for all the people who are like, so let's discount. There's a shit ton of people who are just like actually objective, like just racist / sexist people.
Yeah,
we're
they're
gonna discount that.
shitlords.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're going to discount the shitlords right now. And I'm going to talk from whether or not they're couching the fact that they're a shitlord in this by using this as an opinion. I can't say, but I think that quite a few of them are just actual racists, but they're trying to use this as their excuse to just be racist.
Yes.
There are people who are like, well, I'm a Tolkien scholar and I don't like all these changes. And then I ask them, well, do you like the New Line? Do you like the Jackson movies? And they're like, well, yeah, they're excellent adaptation. And I'm like, so Jackson changed a whole bunch of shit and you're okay with that, but you're not okay with this one? What's the difference? What's the big thing that they changed in this one? That's an example of like, that they didn't change in Jackson changed a bunch of the shit. Aragorn is almost a completely different character in the Jackson movies than he is in the book. Like,
And they're like, well, they changed the skin color. Oh no!
Oh yes, exactly. Then they
I
go
said
like,
it out loud.
I don't know. I accidentally said it out loud. There's a black person. Yeah, because that's really it. Because like, is it a perfect 1-to-1 adaptation of the content that it's covering? Absolutely not. It's about as good as the Peter Jackson trilogy. So like, things are changed. Some characters are different. Some characters don't appear. There's characters that are in different places than they quote unquote should be. However, let's throw it on the line. If you want to be a dickhead about canon, there's literally 2 pieces of official Lord of the Rings canon, and that is The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Anything else that exists in Middle Earth is not canon. If you want to be like an objective, like what is canon and what is not.
Yeah, if you want to be like a real like. You are right, because Silmarillion was released after his death. Tolkien did not approve the release of the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion release, though people consider it brilliant, Tolkien would be so abhorred by the fact that that book was released, because it was essentially, it would be like if you died and someone published your like erotic fan fictions.
Right. It was notes. It was not, there were not stories. There were like bits of pieces of like plots and stories that were maybe like eventually going to be released. So if you want to be like a Tolkien purist, you've got 4 books that are your canon. You've got the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you've got the Hobbit. You can't have anything else. If you
And
I
want to add that
canon.
I want to add that I don't think Steve would be upset that we release his erotic fan fiction. He'd be upset that we release his erotic fan fiction without it being completed to his specificity.
That's exactly it. Like,
it's like, how dare you? I was not done with that.
Yeah, I wasn't done. Rogel Dorn was supposed to show up, and it was supposed to be a 6-way.
Oh, so the Council of 5 was not necessarily what he wanted.
Yes, it was supposed to be the Scholars of 6.
The Scholars of 6 and or the Circle Jerks, as they're commonly called.
Yes, the Circle Jerkias.
And Circle Jerkias.
Yeah.
In High Gothic, it is known as the circle jerk.
All right. All right. So I'm going to throw that out there first. So yes, it is not a like one-to-one adaptation of any printed lore.
No,
So,
I've heard it called Tolkien fan fiction, and I think that's a very accurate way of putting it.
I think I think it is a perfect prequel series to the movies. I really think it's a perfect because I feel that it's about as different to the source, the original material as the movies are, where it's just like, yeah, like most things are correct. The things that actually bug me about like lore wise are very, very nitpicky. And they are there's a couple ones. The first, why is Celebrimbor old?
Yeah, I mean,
That's really weird.
I didn't like he's the one casting that was kind of like meh.
I thought the actor was fine. He did a fine job as Celebrimbor. I don't have any issues with his performance. I have no issues with that actor. I just have a very strange, like he's the only like objectively older looking elf. Like
Yeah.
Gilgalad kind of is older looking, but not really. Not like Celebrimbor looks old. He's got age lines. Like elves don't age that way. So like that was really weird.
Especially when I think in lore Galadriel's older than him. Or
yes.
I don't know.
Or they're close to the same age.
Yeah.
If she's not old, if she's older, it's like minor. So yeah, so that's really weird. Like I was like, why is Celebrimbor an old guy? The other thing, and I couldn't figure out what was bugging me about some of the other elves, and specifically Elrond, and it's the hair.
Yeah.
A bunch of the elves have short hair. There isn't a single elf in any other of Lord of the Rings anything that has short hair. And I was like, that's what it is. Because you know what? I was talking about how I didn't think that the actor playing Elrond looked anything like Hugo Weaving. In the last episode 8, and then in episode 7, when he's talking to Durin, son of Durin, son of Durin, son of Durin.
Yeah. Not that many Durins.
There were 4. I thought it was 4 Durins.
Well, he's the 4th.
Yes.
So there'll be Durin, son of Durin, son of Durin, son of Durin.
Yes.
So there'll be 3 Durins.
Okay. Right on. Yes. So when he was talking to him, there's actually some angles where he really actually does look like Hugo Weaving. And I was like, he kind of does. And I think the thing that just really threw me off is the fucking hair. He's got like a coiffed, like kind of like pompadour look. And it's just weird. So those are my gripes, and I know that's like super nitpicky and strange. I will say that up until episode 6, the show was mostly just pretty. Like it was mostly just like there was not a lot of like it was, to quote the show itself, "Stop with the quail sauce, give me the meat." And give it to me raw. Yeah, I mean, I loved the concept of the dwarves. I'm literally like, I'm simping hard for Disa.
Yeah.
I am a Disa simp. I think she is gorgeous. I want to kiss her face. She's awesome. So you can count me down as a 100% Disa simp. I think she's a great character. I loved her scenes with Durin. I loved all of the Elrond scenes with Durin. That the dwarf and elf content was super good.
I would not be surprised if in the second season you see a lot more emphasis on that, because I think that's where like a lot of the fan base got really excited, was like with that relationship.
Oh, it was awesome. It was super cool. It was really cool to just see like people being like friends in that world. Like,
well, and I think that's like part of what Lord of the Rings has become to a lot of people, is its comfort food.
Yeah.
It's like you get to see these people who are friends with each other. There's no like internal conflict, with the exception of Sam and Frodo, but it's like really
it's there's conflict, but there's not bitterness.
No.
That's the thing. So much of modern television and like so much of the conflict is bitter, and it's just weird, and it's like you like friends don't talk to people that like friends don't talk to each other that way. Like yeah, friends argue. That's the thing that happens, like for sure. But like some of the I don't know. It's really it's just really good. I really liked
Yeah.
it. I really enjoyed it. And obviously, of course, the visuals are fucking ridiculous. Like
So let's yeah,
absurd.
and I think something that you didn't mention here that we talked about was that the pacing is what really makes it feel like a Tolkien show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's grandiose and ponderous. Um, it's definitely up its own ass, but in all of the ways you want it to be.
Yes.
Like-
If you like Tolkien for Tolkien's sake and you don't just like the Peter Jackson movies, like and you don't like Tolkien because of the Peter Jackson movies.
Mhm.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like there's the difference between like people who get Tolkien and people who like Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
I like both. I like both in two separate compartments, which is,
Yeah.
and I think you do too, because that's why we can compartmentalize and say we like Rings of Power because it's slow and plotting, and we like The Hobbit because it's silly and goofy.
Yes, exactly. And that's the things. Like The Hobbit is like, so everything that like if you look at it from, I mean, look, everyone's free to like what they like, whatever. Yeah, except if you're racist, fuck you. But like the Hobbit is a children's book. The Hobbit is a book that was written for kids. Like that is not an adult's book. That story is a universal story, much like many children's stories are, because most of them are just standard, like Aesop's fables or
Mhm.
that just they're basic morality tales. So they're technically all ages, but if you were going to say a target audience for The Hobbit, it's kids. And then The Lord of the Rings is where you go to from The Hobbit after you get a bit older and you mature.
Yep.
So that's what it's. I find that the Peter Jackson movies are exactly the same. The Hobbit trilogy is just a lot more childish than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Like there's almost slapstick moments in.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's legit slapstick moments in the Hobbit trilogy, but I don't treat that as a negative. It's just it's younger, and my friend, he's got perfect Hobbit aged kids, and they fucking love The Hobbit. They love the 3 Hobbit movies. They wouldn't sit through the first Lord of the Rings, but they love the Hobbit movies, and I think that's exactly right. I think that's what it is. And the same thing for me, the Rings of Power. I would not expect a kid to sit through the Rings of Power ever. Like it is way too ponderous. That's the word I would use for it.
Yeah,
But
I wouldn't. So I was contemplating whether or not I should show it to my daughter, and not because of any of the content, but just just always kind of try and preview at least the first episode to see like the tone of the show before I show it to my daughter. She's only 11, so I mean she watches Stranger Things and shit like that.
Sure.
But I was like watching Rings of Power, and I watched after the first episode. I was like, yeah, this isn't for her.
Yeah, no way.
no way in the world. And
it's really good though, man. I really like that.
Let's do this. The spoiler alert. Spoilers. 10.
All right. Yes, we're gonna do spoilers.
Yeah.
They're coming. Here comes the spoilers.
So, what did you think about the Sauron reveal?
It was all right.
I predicted it.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed likely. Like it was either because there was no way they were going to make the wizard Sauron.
No way. I was really shocked at the beginning of the episode where where they called him Sauron. I was like, no.
Yeah, where the mystics called him Sauron.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way. I was like, that's not right. There's just no way. And
exactly.
And look, and we were right. When we said no, that's correct.
But what I did like was how they changed it, where they were like, he's like, because they said that essentially they knew that the wizard was from, well, let's face it, the wizard's Gandalf. They don't really say it, but he pretty much gives it away that it's Gandalf.
It seems that all the signs are pointing to it being Gandalf. However,
he quoted Gandalf.
It could be Saruman.
It could be, but I mean, he literally quoted Gandalf, so that's why
you're correct. But I mean, just because he quoted Gandalf, it could be Saruman.
Yeah,
like because that's the Gandalf and Saruman were tight.
They were.
So that could easily be Saruman. Yeah. It could be. Like I'm not saying
it could be.
It's going to be Gandalf. Like
because and like look at it from a writer's standpoint. It's what they're doing is they're showing Gandalf's relationship with the hobbits.
Hobbits, yes, exactly.
That's what they're doing.
And when he disintegrates the fucking mystics, they turn into moths, which is like another thing that Gandalf is associated with in the movies.
Talking with the moths, follow your nose, and
yes, yeah. So it's like it's definitely Gandalf.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and it's actually a pretty decent Gandalf too. I really like him.
Yes, yeah, he's really good. I enjoyed the stuff with the wizard. I think that the Harfoots would not have been able to be tolerable without Gandalf as well.
Yeah, well, that's the whole.
I did not really like the Harfoots.
And that's like that kitty element that's not necessarily always great. Because it tonally it didn't work with the other elements that were going on.
Yeah, they were just kind of off-putting.
Exactly. So it was like you had 4 different stories going on simultaneously, and that was like the goofy D plot that you really don't know how it's going to fit into the larger plot as a whole, as like a whole. And like you said, well, according to this, according to Tolkien's books, the wizards didn't show up till after the Third Age, or till after the second.
Yeah, no.
Beginning of the Third Age.
In Lord of the Rings, they said that all of the wizards show up in the Third Age, but then Tolkien contradicts himself and says that wizards showed up in the Second Age.
Yeah, and what I said is that the wizards revealed themselves to the men and elves.
Yes.
In the Third Age.
Yes.
So they probably were. They may have been around just gathering intel, talking with the hobbits and all this other shit.
Yes, I mean, yeah, there's, but that's the other things. Like, characters are slightly off where they should be, because like at this point, Galadriel was hanging out with Celeborn in one of the Elven kingdoms.
Yeah,
that's where she was. So like, and Celeborn is lost currently. So like, I assume at some point she's going to rescue Celeborn.
Exactly. And I think it would be really great too, is like if in the second season they actually have Gandalf meet Saruman, and Saruman, like when they find him, he's in fucking what's it called? The forest of the Ents.
Oh, where the Ents, yeah. Near where Isengard is.
Yes, why can't I think of it? God, I can't.
The Mirkwood?
No, it's not Mirkwood. I can't. In my head, I could see the word and I just can't fucking think of it. But anyway, it's it'd be great to see him there hanging out with the Ents, like kind of just talking with them, like how he has plans for this tower.
Yes,
and again, that's where Gandalf meets him doing that, because I think that would work really well.
The Tower of Orthanc.
The Tower of Orthanc. But yes, I'm jazzed. I'm stoked. I love that they're building the idea of Gondor.
Yes.
They are. I love all of that shit.
The things I didn't like I said, the other thing I didn't like was the like inexplicable Isildur dying fake out. That's really weird and stupid. I did not like that.
I don't like fake outs like that, because that he's well, it's the same thing with Celeborn, and like he's not dead. We literally know he's alive.
Right. Yeah. She says he's lost. Like, so she's gonna go rescue him. What do you mean? But I'm okay with that, sort of. I don't know. That's like a weird prequelitis thing. Like, you have to, like, if you're gonna have stakes, they can't be with characters I know the fate of.
Exactly. No, you are 100% correct on that. I was just complaining about something. Oh, Andor on Disney Plus. I was like, oh, I hope Andor is going to get out of this one. I hope Obi-Wan is going to get out of this one. Of course. It doesn't, it's the stupidest thing in the world to have a prequel where the stakes are on a character you already know is living. You are absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah, you can't do that because there are no stakes, and it's not interesting if there's no stakes.
I mean, some of the things that I really loved, one of the things I actually didn't like too much about the show is I think they made Numenor. They really needed to make Numenor look like it's about to fall. Like Numenor has to look like it's in decay, sort of. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like the buildings are falling apart, but like Numenor is this once great kingdom, and now it's kind of fallen.
I think the current status of Numenor is its societal decay, and then there's going to be the decay later. Because I think
that's what I'm talking about. Like, you need to show the societal decay.
Well, I think they kind of hinted at it, and I think it's gonna play out more because the king died. I think the king was like the last thing holding it together, and I think that vizier dude, like the dude who's like super power hungry, I think he's gonna be like the catalyst to
Yeah, I mean, I think
set
so
it up.
too. But I think you could have showed a little bit more on screen just to kind of show like, Numenor is not as great as it seems.
It's not as great as it once was.
Yeah. I do like, and I like Elendil. I liked Isildur. I liked all those characters.
Oh yeah, they were good. I really liked Elendil a lot, actually. Elendil
yeah.
was one of my favorite characters.
You simp for Elendil.
Yeah, he's really good. Elendil was really good. Durin was fantastic.
Oh,
Disa,
Durin was
obviously.
great.
Yeah, Durin was really good. Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really like sold at first. I was kind of like, like,
The first episode's weak. I really
Yeah.
said that. The first episode is weak.
yeah, it really
Oh,
is.
dude, the first fallen elf, the Uruk.
What's his name? Fucking
I don't remember
Arden. Arden.
Something like that.
But yeah, I remember the episode they introduced him before you see him, because at the end of the climax of the episode, they did the fucking Shadow of Mordor chant thing.
Numb, but numb.
Yeah,
No.
because they don't show him. They just show his legs, and they're chanting his name, and they're like Arden, 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 and it's like oh shit, this is gonna be dope. Yeah, that guy's cool as hell too.
Yeah, very cool. And I like that they kind of reconciled it. Like the first orcs were elves that were twisted by Mordor, and they don't look like those orcs. They're just like fucking evil elves.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
fucking sweet. That's something
Yeah.
that's completely added new to the Tolkien the mythology of it all. And
Yeah,
I love
he
it.
was I think they say he was the first elf to be tortured by Morgoth.
Yeah.
So like that's really cool.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he still looks like an elf. He's just fucking he's physically and emotionally twisted.
Right, yeah, he looks like an elf who's seen some fucking hard times, because he has.
Exactly. I absolutely I adore the series. I think anybody who doesn't like it, just it's not it there's other reasons why you don't like it. Like, and you have to come to terms with that.
Right, yeah, like really, really consider why you don't like it. I would say, but I will say, there is the episode 6 when Mount Doom erupts. That was like a real big like an ignition switch to me. Like
How do you like it on the map where they like they erased the letters and then it
it
just showed
was
up
so
Mordor.
good. I knew it was gonna happen, but it didn't matter. It didn't, like, I literally was like, it's gonna say Mordor. And it did, and I was like, yeah.
Exactly. It's one of those things that you're just like, as a 40-year-old human being, you're just like, oh, I can't wait for yay.
Yeah, it was legit. Like that was legitimately what happened. I was like, it's gonna say Mordor, and then when it said Mordor, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliantly. I shouldn't say it's brilliant. It's not a brilliant show. It's just a
No,
fun show for
It's
people.
just good. Like
It's-
it's like
yeah.
it's not groundbreaking fiction or anything like that. It's just good. Like
Yeah.
it is just a very solid fantasy series.
I know.
With some excellent characters, and I think, like I said, most of the people who aren't just objectively racist who have issues with it, most of them who I've talked to, they're all coming at it, in my opinion, from the wrong perspective. It's just like, don't, like, yes, is Galadriel different in this than she was written in like her timeline in Tolkien? Yeah, absolutely. I will not deny that she is different. But you know what? You know what's interesting? Being able to see her character grow. Like that's interesting. I want to see her character grow, because they mentioned that she was like hot-headed and like kind of arrogant when she was younger. So we're getting to see that. Is the timing off? Yes, because she was but basically, like, this is first age Galadriel, personality wise.
Yeah,
'Cause, like,
exactly.
because she was hot-headed and less wise in the first age than she was in the second age. So
Yep.
there you go. It's a tonal shift for her, for sure. But I mean, I don't know. I'm a big fan. I like it. It's super
Now-
good.
now you gotta watch-
Okay.
Now you got to watch House of the Dragon.
Is that's on HBO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the season over?
At tomorrow's the last episode.
Okay. Yeah. I'll probably give it a shot.
It's like the exact opposite of Rings of Power, where it's a lot of politics. It's very soapy,
okay.
but it's soapy about like dragons and incest. So you're kind of like, at least it's holding this my attention.
I mean, I like dragons and I like incest, and I
Yeah.
especially like incest with dragons. So
Are there cars? Are the dragons having sex with the cars?
You can't have incest if the dragon is having sex with the car. I
Well-
mean, don't get me wrong, the dragon should be having sex with the car.
What if the car is the dragon's stepbrother, like step car,
Ooh, and it's stuck in a giant dishwasher. I mean,
Yeah.
dryer.
dryer? What are you
Yes.
doing, step dragon?
Yes. Okay. You know, I wasn't gonna watch the series, but you sold me.
Yeah, it's my only complaint with it is that there's a lot of time jumps in the first season, and it'd be better if they gave you some idea of how much time has passed. Like if on the bottom of the screen it was like
6 years later or whatever.
or no, if it was like 20 years before the dance,
Okay.
and then it was like 10 years before the dance. It like counted down, and then the last episode is 0 hours to the dance of the dragons.
I see.
Sort of like that. I think that would have been better. I like all the characters in it, and I like a lot of the stuff that happens. But I'm not kidding myself. It is a very, very like high budget soap opera.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, so we gotta wrap it up because we're running out of time. I'm looking into a new platform for recording podcasts, so I'll let you know when we change on that one, because it's like
Ooh.
infinitely cheaper than Zoom and does a really good job, and it also saves the podcast on both ends. So if I fuck it up, you at least would have a copy.
Ooh.
And I'm looking into it. I haven't had time, but anywho, go to the Game Classy Facebook page. It's the best way get in contact with us. And you could make some comments underneath the post and say like, I like this part. I don't like Rings of Power.
I don't like you. Why am I
Exactly.
here?
Why am I here? What's going on? Why do I sound like Gordon from Twin Peaks?
What? I can't hear you.
I've been having a lot of Gordon moments lately.
He's great. Is he in the reboot?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Is he still
shows
loud? Does he still yell?
Yeah, exactly. All right. It's because I watched an episode of Psych, the USA Characters Welcome show, where they did like a whole Twin Peaks parody.
I really enjoyed that you did the whole thing. USA Characters Welcome.
Yes, it's USA where characters are welcome. You could also like, comment, subscribe on the iTunes, like, comment, subscribe on the Twitters. No, on the iTunes, on the YouTubes. That's what it is.
YouTube's. YouTubes.
Yeah. That's where I saw one new comment, and it was very positive. I think it was one of our fans wrote it. I from what I saw on the comment, I think it was like one of our regulars who commented.
We appreciate your positive comments, fellows
Yes.
and ladies. We definitely have some lady listeners, which is, I mean, shocking to me. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm happy that you're here.
YouTube. I don't remember if I mentioned this on a podcast before, but the guy was like, what were some of the great Katana Guy bits? And I was just, I like, in all honesty.
Oh yeah, see that you know, I listen to I listen to M Class podcast. That's like one of the ones I listen to while I'm on my walks, which is the two guys who talk about Star Trek stuff. And they mentioned something, and I was just like, you know what, they're right. So like, here's the thing: when you're recording stuff like this, you don't remember.
No.
Like you don't. So like when you guys remember something, that's great and that's awesome. But like, we won't remember that. Like you'll be like, you know, because you'll be like, hey, because think about it like this. Do you, like, you listening right now, do you remember the conversation you had with a coworker 2.5 weeks ago at 3 p.m.? Do you remember exactly what you were talking about at all? No, because that's not how human brains work. But if it was recorded, you could go back and listen to it, or someone else goes into it, and then they'll know. So that's what it is. So like, there's no way for us to know what. Like, I don't even remember what like, if you held a gun to my head and were like, what episodes did you do Katana Guy? I'd be like, pull the trigger, bro. I have no fucking idea. So we don't know. So if you want to find that out, do it.
I would say that probably the best episode that you could listen to the Katana Guy is it's our Halloween episode where Steve and I read Lovecraft books back in 2014.
Yes.
So if you find that one, it's in 2014 somewhere. You can find it on YouTube. It's an easy find on there. But that's like, It's got some solid Katana Guy stuff in there.
Yeah, and that's why timestamps exist, and that's why Wikipedias exist, because like, you know, because someone is doing that and they're putting that information out there so that other people can reference it.
Yeah, exactly.
So if no one is doing that work, no one will really know. So.
All right. And then if you want to follow me, you could follow me on the Instagram. I'm at Game Classy Joe. I just started posting some pictures of my 30K Blood Angels. And you can follow Steve at at @command_throw on the Twitters.
Yes, I'm currently banned on Twitter. I'll be back in 3.5 days.
Did you make fun of
I was
Elon
banned.
Musk?
I was banned for objectively correct opinions about what right wingers should do.
And it's the best kind of correct.
It's objectively correct.
You got really mad at Ben Shapiro for making fun of Ethan Klein from He3 Productions.
You know what? I see that guy all the time. I don't know who the fuck that guy is. I see him a lot though. I don't know who he is though.
Ben Shapiro or Ethan Klein?
Ethan Klein. I know who Ben Shapiro is. He's a fucking manlet dildo who people think is masculine somehow. He's like 2 feet tall and he sounds like a fly.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's called He Productions.
Yeah, I see him fighting with people various like I mean he seems to be fighting against shitbags generally, so like I immediately want to take his side.
Well, so here's a weird thing. I don't follow them at all. I never watch their YouTube shows. I never follow them on anything. But I do know about their drama just from secondhand from Reddit because there's some Reddit darlings. I know that they got in trouble. They didn't get in trouble, but I know they got called out for kind of platforming some real D-bag right wingers back in the day before it like became a real thing. But they would have like Jordan Peterson on or something like that, or maybe like someone like Ben Shapiro.
Well, I mean, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but like, didn't like Jordan Peterson just start out as kind of like an innocuous dork, and then like slowly like
he started off in saying like he started simple opinions like controversial yet non-crazy opinions like I really don't like changing pronouns, right? And then it just became this whole fucking thing where it just like and where he said something like, I don't think that there's more than 2 genders, which is, which is wrong. But
yeah, I mean that's not science. Science says that that's wrong. Yeah. Like so that's always pisses me off when they're always like, well, science. I'm like, no, you're the ones who are against the science.
Well, it's like, it's like you're wrong, but it's like it's a simple opinion, and then it just snowballs because
got it. It was like with the early 2000s where like the rise of the internet atheists came out, and then like it turns out that they weren't actually just like militant atheists; they just really hated Muslims.
Yeah, they just wanted attention, and that's kind of what it is with Jordan Peterson. But anyway, so Ethan Klein did that, and then he went back, and so then when he realized what he was doing, he went the other direction because he realized that these people were shitbags. Anyway, we're running out of time. So Steve, until next week.
Wait, next week?
I'm sorry, next time.
I'm gonna read my Assamil Japanese with Ease, Volume 1.
All right, I'm ending before that.
Bye.
Game Classy.